What happens when a billionaire's ego slams into a host's dignity on live television? The studio lights blazed down on Jimmy Fallon's talk show set, the audience buzzing with anticipation. Elon Musk, tech titan and self-proclaimed visionary, strutted onto the stage, his smirk sharp enough to cut glass. Jimmy Fallon, usually all grins and charm, gripped the armrest of his chair, his knuckles white. The crowd didn't know it yet, but they were about to witness a train wreck. Just days before, Musk had made headlines with a bombshell claim. In a press conference, he declared he could revolutionize late-night television by buying Fallon's show and turning it into a futuristic spectacle. He called Fallon's format "stuck in the 90s," a relic that needed his genius to survive. The words stung. Fallon, who'd poured years into perfecting his craft, felt the jab like a personal betrayal. Now, with Musk sitting across, from him the air crackled with unspoken grudges. Fallon leaned forward, his smile tight. "So, Elon, you've been making waves, saying you could, fix my show. Care to explain that to our audience?" His voice was calm, but the edge was unmistakable. The crowd shifted, sensing trouble. Musk crossed his legs, his posture oozing confidence. "Jimmy, no offense, but your show's predictable. Same old interviews, same old games. I'd streamline it, make it bold. Think holograms, AI co-hosts. You'd thank me later." His tone was patronizing, like he was lecturing a child. The audience gasped, a few boos rippling through the seats. Fallon's jaw clenched. "Predictable? I've got millions tuning in every night. You think you can just waltz in and do better?" His eyes burned, the hurt of Musk's dismissal plain. He'd spent decades building this show, and now this outsider was tearing it down on his own stage. Musk shrugged, unfazed. "Numbers don't lie, Jimmy. Your ratings are flat. I'd double them in a month. It's just business." He leaned back, smirking again, as if daring Fallon to push back. The crowd murmured, some clapping for Musk's audacity, others loyal to their host. Fallon's voice dropped low and sharp. "Business? This isn't one of your factories, Elon. This is my life's work. You don't get to trash it for headlines." The audience roared, feeding off his defiance. A woman in the front row shouted, "Tell him, Jimmy!" The energy in the room tilted, the tension coiling tighter. Musk's eyes narrowed. He wasn't used to being challenged, especially not in front of a live crowd. "Your life's work," he said, his voice dripping with scorn. "Come on, Jimmy. You're a glorified party host. I build rockets. I change the world. You tell jokes." The words landed like a slap, and the audience erupted, half in shock, half in outrage. Someone yelled, "Get him off the stage!" Fallon stood, his chair scraping against the floor. "You think you're better than me because you've got money? You're sitting here insulting me, my crew, my fans? You've got some nerve." His voice shook, not with fear but with raw, unfiltered anger. The crowd was on its feet now, cheering wildly, their loyalty to Fallon fierce. Musk stood too, towering over the desk. "Nerve? I've got vision, Jimmy. You're clinging to a dying medium. Step aside or get run over." His words were cold, calculated, meant to wound. The studio felt like a powder keg, ready to explode. Fallon stepped closer, his face inches from Musk's. "You don't scare me, Elon. This is my show, my rules. You want to talk vision? How about you show some respect first?" The audience roared louder, the noise deafening. Producers in the control booth exchanged panicked glances, unsure whether to cut to commercial. Musk laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "Respect? For what? Your little skits? I'm here to wake you up, Jimmy. You're welcome." He turned to the crowd, arms spread, as if expecting applause. Instead, boos rained down, the hostility thick. Fallon's fists balled at his sides. He'd had enough. This wasn't just about the show anymore. It was personal. Musk had crossed a line, and Fallon wasn't going to let him walk away unscathed. Can a man's pride survive when a billionaire tries to crush it on live television? Jimmy Fallon stood nose to nose with Elon Musk, the studio pulsing with the crowd's roars. The air was thick with fury, the kind that makes your chest tight. Musk's mocking laugh still echoed, his words, calling Fallon's show a joke, cutting deeper than any blade. Fallon's eyes blazed, his usual warmth replaced by something fierce, something unbreakable. The audience sensed it. This was no longer an interview. It was a fight. "You think you can come here and humiliate me?" Fallon said, his voice low but shaking with rage. He pointed at Musk, his fingers steady. "You're a guest, Elon. Act like one, or get out." The crowd exploded, chanting Fallon's name, their voices a wall of support. A man in the back yelled, "Kick him off, Jimmy!" The energy was electric, every person in the room hanging on the next word. Musk's smirk didn't waver, but his eyes darkened. He stepped closer, looming over Fallon. "Humiliate you? I'm just telling the truth. Your show's a snooze, and you're too weak to fix it. I'd make it legendary." His voice was ice, each word meant to sting. He turned to the audience, arms wide. "You want boring? Keep cheering for him. You want greatness? You need me." A few clapped, drawn to his bravado, but most booed, their loyalty to Fallon fierce. Fallon laughed, but it was bitter, sharp. "Greatness? You're a bully with a checkbook. You don't care about this show or these people. You just want to own everything, don't you?" He gestured to the crew behind the cameras, the stagehands, the producers. "These folks work their hearts out. You think they're nothing? You think I'm nothing?" His voice cracked, raw with emotion, and the crowd cheered louder, some standing, fists raised, Musk's face twisted, his cool facade cracking. "Don't play the victim, Jimmy. You're not some hero. You're a has-been, and deep down, you know it." He jabbed a finger at Fallon's chest, the gesture aggressive, personal. The audience gasped, the tension spiking. A producer signaled, frantically from the sidelines, but neither man noticed. The show was spiraling, and no one could stop it. Fallon swatted Musk's hand away, his face flushed. "Don't touch me? You want to talk about has-beens? Look in the mirror. You buy your way into everything. Cars, rockets, now my show? You're pathetic." The words were a gut punch, and for a split second Musk flinched, his arrogance shaken. The crowd roared, sensing blood in the water. Musk recovered fast, his voice rising. "Pathetic? I'm the one pushing humanity forward while you play charades with celebrities. You're irrelevant, Jimmy. I'm doing you a favor by even being here." He sneered, turning to the audience again. "You're all wasting your time watching this clown. I'd give you something worth seeing." The boos were deafening now, a tidal wave of rejection. Someone threw a crumpled program at the stage, narrowly missing Musk. Fallon's hands shook, but his voice was steady. "You're not doing me any favors. You're embarrassing yourself. You think these people want your cold, soulless ideas? They're here for heart, for connection, something you'll never understand." He stepped back, pointing to the crowd. "Look at them, Elon. They're not your robots. They're real, and they see right through you." The audience was a sea of noise, chanting, "Jimmy! Jimmy!" A woman in the front row wiped tears from her eyes, moved by Fallon's passion. Musk's jaw tightened, his hands curling into fists. He wasn't used to losing, especially not to someone he saw as beneath him. "You're delusional," he spat. "This show's dead without me. You're dead without me." Fallon's eyes narrowed, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "You're wrong, Elon, and I'm done listening to you." He turned to the crowd, raising a hand, and they cheered louder, their support a shield. Then he faced Musk again, his stance firm. "You've got one chance to apologize. To me, to my crew, to these people. or you're gone." Musk laughed, but it was hollow, forced. "Apologize? To you? Never." He crossed his arms, defiant, daring Fallon to make the next move. The studio was a pressure cooker, every eye locked, on the two men. The producers froze, the camera still rolling, capturing every second of the chaos. Fallon's heart pounded, but his resolve was iron. This was his show, his home, and he was ready to defend it. How far will a man go to protect his legacy from a tycoon's scorn? Jimmy Fallon's ultimatum hung in the air, his demand for an apology met with Elon Musk's defiant sneer. The studio was a cauldron of noise, the audience's chants of, "Jimmy! Jimmy!" shaking the walls. Musk stood rigid, arms crossed, his refusal to back down a challenge to Fallon's authority. The cameras zoomed in, catching every twitch of anger on their faces. This was no longer about ratings or headlines. It was about who would break first. Fallon's chest heaved, his patience shredded. "You won't apologize? Fine. You're done here." He turned to the side of the stage, where security guards hesitated, unsure if this was part of the show. "Get him out," Fallon said, his voice steady but laced with fury. The crowd erupted, some cheering, others shouting in disbelief. A bad woman in the second row clapped so hard her hands turned red, her face alight with pride for Fallon. Musk's laugh was sharp, cutting through the noise. "You're kicking me out? You're nothing without guests like me. You'll beg me to come back." He stepped toward Fallon, his posture aggressive, like a predator sizing up prey. "This show's a joke, and you're the punchline." His words were venom, meant to wound not just Fallon, but everyone who loved the show. The boos from the crowd grew louder, a wall of sound pushing back against Musk's arrogance. Fallon didn't flinch. He planted himself in front of Musk, his voice rising. "You think I need you? I've got a family here, my crew, my fans. They're worth more than your money or your ego." He gestured to the audience, who roared in response, their support a lifeline. A stagehand near the cameras wiped his eyes, moved by Fallon's loyalty. "You're the one who's nothing, Elon. You're just noise." Musk's face flushed, his control slipping. "Noise? I'm the future. You're a fossil, Jimmy. This show's a graveyard, and I'm the only one who can save it." He pointed at the set, the desk, the lights. "You think this matters? It's all replaceable. You're replaceable." The crowd gasped, the insult landing like a bomb. A man in the back shouted, "Go home, Elon!" The hostility was palpable, the air heavy with it. Fallon's hands clenched, his voice dropping to a growl. "Replaceable? You don't get it, do you? This isn't just a set. It's a home. These people aren't your employees to fire. They're my team, my heart." His words trembled with emotion, and the audience cheered, some standing, their applause a thunderclap. A producer in the booth whispered, "He's got this," her voice thick with admiration. Musk scoffed, but his confidence was fraying. "Heart? That's your problem, Jimmy. You're soft. The world doesn't care about your feelings. It cares about results. I get results." He jabbed a thumb at his chest, his voice rising to match the crowd's intensity. "You're scared because you know I'm right. I'd make this show a legend and you can't stand it." Fallon shook his head, a bitter smile on his lips. "Scared? I'm not scared of you. I'm ashamed for you. You think you can buy respect? You can't. You've lost it here tonight." He turned to the crowd, his arms wide. "Am I right?" The response was deafening, a tidal wave of cheers and stomps. A young man in the front row yelled, "You tell him, Jimmy!" The unity in the room was unshakable. Musk's eyes darted, his bravado crumbling under the weight of the crowd's rejection. He wasn't used to this, being the outcast, the villain. "You're all fools," he snapped, his voice cracking. "You're cheering for a loser. I'm the winner here." But his words sounded desperate, hollow against the audience's roar. He took a step back, as if the sound itself pushed him. Fallon saw his chance. A winner? Winners lift people up, Elon. You tear them down. That's why you're leaving. He nodded to the security guards who finally moved, their faces stern. The crowd cheered louder, sensing victory. Musk's jaw tightened, his hands shaking with rage, but he didn't move. He was cornered, and he knew it. The guards approached, their presence a silent threat. Musk glared at Fallon, his voice low and venomous. "You'll regret this, Jimmy. I'll make sure of it." The threat hung heavy, but Fallon didn't waver. He stared back, his eyes steel. "Take your threats and go, Elon. We're done." The studio shook with the crowd's approval, their voices a chorus of defiance. Musk's reign of arrogance was crumbling, and Fallon was ready to finish it. What does it take to stand tall when a giant tries to knock you down? Jimmy Fallon's words echoed in the studio. His command to remove Elon Musk final. The security. Guards closed in, their steps heavy on the stage, while the audience's cheers swelled like a storm. Musk stood frozen, his threat to make Fallon regret this moment still lingering, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of doubt. The crowd's chants of "Jimmy! Jimmy!" were a relentless tide, washing away his arrogance. Fallon's face was set, his resolve a beacon in the chaos. This was his moment, and he wasn't backing down. Musk's shoulders tensed as the guards flanked him. "You're making a mistake," he hissed, his voice barely audible over the crowd. "I'm bigger than this show, bigger than you." He jabbed a finger at Fallon, but the gesture lacked its earlier venom. The audience jeered, their rejection a hammer blow. A woman in the front row shouted, "Get lost, Elon!" Her voice carried the room's fury, and others joined in, their words a chorus of disdain. Fallon stepped forward, his voice clear and unshaken. "Bigger? You're just louder, Elon. You came here to tear me down, but you're the one falling." He pointed to the crowd, their faces alive with support. "These people see you for what you are. A man who thinks money buys everything. But it doesn't buy loyalty. It doesn't buy heart." The applause was deafening, a wave of sound that shook the studio. A stagehand clapped from the wings, his grin wide with pride, Musk's face twisted, his composure gone. "Heart? You're clinging to a fantasy, Jimmy. The world moves on. You're stuck in the past." He tried to turn to the audience, but the boos drowned him out, relentless. He flinched, the weight of their scorn pressing down. "You'll crash without me," he shouted, but his voice cracked, desperate. The guards grabbed his arms, firm, but calm, and he jerked against them, his pride refusing to yield. Fallon shook his head, his voice steady. "Crash? I've got everything I need right here. My crew, my fans, my purpose. You? You're alone, Elon. That's your failure, not mine." The words struck deep, and Musk's eyes widened, a flash of vulnerability breaking through. The crowd roared, sensing the shift. A man in the back stood, pumping his fist, his cheer a battle cry for Fallon's triumph. The guards began to pull Musk toward the exit, his shoes scuffing the stage. "This isn't over," he snarled, twisting to glare at Fallon. "I'll bury you." But the threat felt empty, a last gasp from a man who'd lost the room. The audience's cheers grew louder, their unity a shield around Fallon. A producer in the booth wiped her eyes, whispering, "He did it." The cameras stayed, locked on the scene, broadcasting every second to millions. Fallon raised a hand, silencing the crowd for the first time. The room fell quiet, every eye on him. This show isn't about one guest. It's about all of us. We laugh together. We cry together. We stand together. His voice was warm now, but strong, carrying the weight of his victory. Tonight, we showed what matters. Not money, not power. People. Thank you for being here. The applause exploded, a tidal wave of love and respect. People hugged strangers in the aisles, their faces glowing with shared pride. Musk was gone, escorted out a side door, his shadow no longer looming. The stage felt lighter, the air cleaner. Fallon turned to his crew, nodding to each one, his gratitude clear. The band struck up a triumphant chord, and the crowd cheered again, their energy unbreakable. Fallon sat at his desk, his smile returning, not the polished host's grin but something real, hard-earned. "Let's keep this show going," he said, and the audience laughed, their joy a release after the storm. The broadcast ended with Fallon's words, but the moment lived on. In homes across the country, viewers talked about it for weeks. The night Jimmy Fallon faced down a titan and won. The show's ratings soared, not because of Musk's absence, but because of Fallon's strength, his heart, his refusal to bend. The crew worked harder, the audience grew louder, and Fallon stood taller. He'd protected his home, his people, and proved that no amount of money could buy what mattered most. The victory was his, and it was theirs, a story of defiance that would echo long after the lights dimmed.